on, let them say ya. Come on, let them say ya. That in my business, you catching fever. Getting serious like empty river. Ain't no stopping by the river. And as we coming, we sweeping, we cutting, we moving all the way. Yeah. We coming, yeah. We better start be coming. As we coming, we sweeping, we coming. And then when we meet obstacles, we better start be coming. Yeah, you coming, yeah. We coming. We better start be coming. When the year is been checking you again, cause you go out. We coming. We better start be coming. We coming. We better start.
And so we want to say welcome once again to another fresh edition of the program, The Bottom Line. And this is the program that brings you issues about Liberia and Liberians. And of course, we're in the political season, so a lot of things will be about politics going forward until maybe after October, when the tension will relax and everybody will know who our next president is, because at the end of October, we would have had elections and we have to settle with our results. But tonight, we're going to be discussing very, very interesting issues with interesting people. We have 3 guests, if they will all appear. And by way of information, we are on the radio in Liberia, Hot FM. We understand we are beaming to several counties in Liberia. So if you have the opportunity, you can tune into Hot FM in Monrovia,
Yes.
Liberia, and you will get what
It's
we
rare
have.
power,
Red Power. Sorry, I'm very, very sorry. It's Red Power FM. And I understand it's situated in Brownsville. And so we're going to have, like I said, we're going to have 3 guests. And tonight we have 3 panelists here. Paul the Lord Chuluple is in the UK. Mark Farr is in Sweden, and I am in Norway. Jamal Kamara is not on tonight. He's a bit engaged with other things. He's going to be with us in the next edition. So on behalf of the entire Bottom Line crew, I'd like to say welcome to all of our viewers. And if you're joining us for the first time, this is the Bottom Line, where we discuss the issues. And for those of you who are our regular listeners, we also want to say thank you for being with us all the time. And please share the show. Let me just welcome my colleagues. Okay, since I'm in Scandinavia, I'll start with Mafa because we are close to neighbors. Sweden and Norway, we are next to neighbors like Guinea and Liberia. So, Mark, from my side, the weather is good today, but in the evening there was some rain. How is the weather from your side, and how are you doing? How was your weekend?
I'm doing good, Brother Linfo, and greetings to the panelists, Mose Colley in Liberia, Brother Paul Cholople in London, the United Kingdom, and my weekend was great. The weather here is very nice, and I believe that we're going to have some shower during the course of the night on my end, but not the entire Stockholm. Some part of Stockholm are going to be dry. But I had a wonderful weekend catching up on a lot of geopolitics stuff, like what unfolded in Russia and what is happening in Ukraine. So I had a lot of, catching up with the international news. So thank you, Brother Linfo.
Okay, great. Paul, you are in England, the land of English. Tell us, how are you faring, brother?
Well, good evening, Info. Good evening, Mark. It's great to be back here. The Great United Kingdom is beautiful. Have a decent summer. Started well, and today we have one of the coolest day, and I think I'm happy being here. And it's good to be back on the show. It's good to have you, and I'll be looking forward to the guest tonight. So, how you guys doing anyway?
Well, like I said, I'm fine, and I think everything is on course. From course Scandinavia, the weather is good and life is good as usual. So, like I said, tonight we're going to be okay. Let me first of all welcome Moses. Moses is our anchor man in studio in Monrovia, and Moses is going to make it happen. Moses, there is some feedback from you, so we're going to get to Moses in just 30 seconds. Moses, you live in Monrovia, Liberia. Tell us, what are some of the happenings in Monrovia today?
Yes, Limpo, I'm sure you can hear me.
Right.
Okay, so I'm happy to be on the show. Last week, we had a wonderful program. There were calls from Liberia, and the panelists responded to those calls. So I'm excited that we are on the radio again. The bottom line is on again. So we anticipate a lot of people to follow the conversation and make their input from Liberia.
Okay, great. That sounds great. And so uh, we having some feedback. So what you do, just lower the monitor. If anything you're listening to, like small radio or something, just lower the volume. Okay, so kill the volume of everything I got there. But we said we're gonna have. We still getting feedback from Moses.
I think for the studio.
Yeah, Moses, try to lower the
So
monitor.
so So I'm making adjustment in the studio and I have just lowered the monitor. If it's not okay, I can reduce it further.
Uh, okay. I think you need to reduce it, almost kill it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, we're gonna have guests on the show tonight. We see one of our guests is already backstage, but it'll be interesting tonight. By way of introduction, before our guests start pouring in, we'll have Mr. Vasiki Kone. He's a CPP chairman in the USA. Vasiki Kone, I've heard his name so many times. I've read most of his articles when he used to write. I know he still writes though. But this will be the first time I interact with him. And we're going to have Mrs. Amanda Wright. She's also the CPP convention chairperson. That is the convention that is ongoing right now in the US. She's the chairperson for that particular event. We'll have her with us if time permits. And in addition, we're going to have Mr. Melvin Logan, and he's the CPP coordinator for the US. So it's going to be all about the CPP tonight, the policies of the CPP, what makes it important that the CPP must win these elections and then replace the current system that we have. Those are some of the things that we'll be looking at tonight. So, like I said, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. So, guys, if there's anything on your mind, because we got to catch up with time. We're on the radio and we need to make use of the 1 hour and 30 minutes. So, in few seconds, if there's anything on your mind that you want to talk about, we can talk about it. And then after that, there's a video that Paul will play, and then we can roll in our guests. So, Paul, let's start with you. Is there anything specific on your mind for tonight?
Well, I'll be looking forward to the discussion for tonight, and I want to hear from the guests what they think the prospect of the CPP and the work they have done and what a victory is setting in their favor. We want to hear that. So I'll be forward to having a great conversation with them. Yeah.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I believe that, we should focus more on what the Liberian people expect, the expectation of the Liberian people from the CPP,
Mhm.
and to disseminate the message of the CPP. So that is what I'm interested in most, and etc. So I can't wait to have the guests on.
Okay. And I agree with all of you. So, what you guys suggested is what we're going to do. So, Paul, there's a video that I want you to play, and this video has to do with corruption, the danger of corruption, what corruption does to the entire country and its citizens. So, if you play that video, after that we'll roll in our guests and we can start our discussion. But before that, I think I must bring the guest on, the one that is backstage, so that he will also have the opportunity to listen to that video.
Yeah, and let get Moses back to he just dropped off, so it'd be good for the people to listen to it in Liberia as well. So
Okay.
can while
So
we that way he just dropped off.
okay. And sorry, our audience, this is the Liberia we're talking about. The internet will trip when no reason, when nothing is happening, it will trip for no reason. So this is what we're talking about. But let me say welcome to Mr. Mvasiki Kone. Welcome, sir. Do you hear us?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to appear on your show today. It's a great weather from my end here in Lansdowne, PA. We're getting ready for the first CPP USA convention here in Philadelphia. I'm in great spirit. My people are in great spirit. We're expecting the CPP standard bearer and the vice standard bearer and other officials of CPP from Liberia. And our members are flying from all across America to attend this convention here in Philadelphia. So I'm very excited. It's a great moment for our organization as we head towards the 2023 general election. So we are in good spirit. And I can see the excitement in your faces too. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so Paul, at least one of our guests will also roll that video, and we'll always start with that discussion from there.
Okay, thank you.
Corruption is a vile disease that sucks and drains the health out of something good. Corruption in society is an evil moral infection that keeps community in the state of perpetual sickness. Corruption is a moral virus. It's so potent, it leaves its host sick, lethargic, and unable to realize and accomplish all that a well person can. Where corruption thrives, poverty and not prosperity thrives. Wealth is grabbed into the greedy, grubby hands of those who get fat on the toil and labor of good people. Corruption benefits, only temporarily, those who participate in it. Everyone else is a victim of the theft, the deceit, the dishonesty, and the lies that corruption feeds on. You need to know that a corrupt person is stealing from you. Corruption is filthy work and despicable acts of treachery done under the table and behind closed doors. Corruption is a disgusting shame. Corruption keeps a nation back from true development and from progress. Wise investors steer clear of a corrupt environment. They would rather put their resources into a place where the playing field of opportunity is equal for all and not bent towards feeding the financial lust of corrupt, lying, cheating, thieving politicians and government officials. How many wonderful development projects have been lost because the investors didn't want to do business in a swamp of evil? When those great projects go to another nation or to some other place, we all lose. Believe me when I tell you that corruption steals from you, it steals from all of us. Corruption plunders the nation's wealth. Corrupt people compromise on truth, equity, and fairness, choosing instead to feed off the short-term benefits of crookedness, exploitation, and financial perversion. Corruption is not just a personal matter, it's a culture. It's a way of life, not just for individual people, but for companies, communities, governments, and nations. Corrupt nations, hiding behind large companies, will seek to invest in other weak nations in order to take over the assets of the nation that they've invested into. They will provide financial loans to a nation for the much needed infrastructure, and they will do it with assets that they provide. They will sign contracts by lining the pockets of rotten government officials who participate in this kind of corruption and are then held hostage by their own deceit and greed. Corruption is nothing less than a form of theft and national robbery. A corrupt person steals from everyone in society. We all lose when corruption is rampant. Those who participate in corruption have chosen evil over good, lies over truth, and personal gain over well-being of all. To be corrupt means to be rotten. When meat is corrupt, it's rotten and it stinks. Rotten meat can't be eaten. When a person is corrupt, he's rotten and unfit for a place in the community. A corrupt person should be jailed in order to protect society from the vile deeds of the corrupt person. Government should be protecting us from the foul results of corruption instead of being the proponents and participants in corruption. When corruption is systemic, when it's a culture and a way of life, when corruption thrives, it destroys the health of the community and nation. Now let me tell you something. Defeating corruption is a very difficult thing. The love of money is the root of all evil, the Bible says. People who love money will do almost anything to get it. Those who choose to stand up against corruption, you need to know that we're going to be involved in a war. We will be threatened, vilified, intimidated, marginalized, and ridiculed. These kind of people who stand up against corruption will often feel alone, as if they are the problem instead of the solution. Corruption can only be defeated when enough people have had enough and decide to do something about it. Africa needs to raise up a new generation of corrupt-free young people who together and in support of one another build a beautiful new corrupt-free Africa. We need a new generation of young people to fill the places of leadership who think differently and are motivated not by greed, but a genuine sense of servanthood to the people of our community. The church exists to call the nation back to righteousness. We are here to lift the standard of good that God requires for prosperity and health to flourish across the land. The Bible says, "Woe to those who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. Therefore, as tongues of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down in the flames, so their roots will decay and their flowers blow away like dust, for they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty." We all need to be reminded that from time to time, God has created everything. Therefore, he owns everything. He is the final authority over everything, and he has the right to determine how everything should be managed and used. We own nothing. What we have, we only manage on God's behalf. We need to be reminded that God, the righteous judge, requires every one of us on a day he is appointed to stand before him and to give an account for what we did with his property, with the positions and the people that he entrusted into our hands. God, the righteous judge, will act and decide justly. He will not forever allow the corrupt to thrive and dominate the poor by their evil and corruption. Oh, young Ugandan, you who hold the future of this nation in your hand, the most important message that I can give you today in this anti-corruption week is this: never pay a bribe and never demand one.
So powerful, so meaningful, full of message, and intriguing. Well, gentlemen, we all listen to this video. We watch it. We listen to what he said by way of information. This is not our creation. We QA from the internet. But he was actually talking to the youths of Uganda on the occasion of World Corruption Day, Anti-Corruption Day. So he was giving a message, and we all listen and do not need to recap what he said. But one message that we all took away is that corruption is not good. That's the bedrock. Corruption is not good. It kills the society. It robs the citizens. It makes you even poorer while others are getting richer. Now, so from this video, we can start our discussion, and we're going to start with corruption. The question here is, there are several governments that we've had in Liberia, and even many more leaders want to become president of Liberia still. We've tried people. The country had a military coup. They killed 13 living people. They were not sick, nothing, grabbed them, killed them for corruption. the same people who killed those people came and even did worse. Then fast forward, we had war, wars of war for complete 14 years. Several innocent people and concerned people died, all in the name of bringing change. Still, the war finished. The scars are still visible in our country. Then we've had governments coming after the war, and still this thing called corruption, we still hear about it. One would have imagined that by the time they killed 13 people and then walking with fought, the whole country destroyed. One would have thought that okay, there will be nothing more called corruption, but it still exists. So that will bring me to the question. Let me ask Vasiki Kone, saying he's our guest. You heard a gentleman in a video. He talked about corruption. Now we'll go straight to the discussion. We're not going to beat around the bush here. What if the CPP wins? Let's say the CPP is going to win because the Suns are on the wall. The CPP wins. Is there any strategy? Is there any plan? I mean, not those plans that people had in the past when they kill people and they all these things. Still got corruption. What specifically you think the CPP will do to curtail? Let's not talk about it finishing, but to minimize it to the point where it will not even be visible like it is today.
Well, when I visited Liberia in January, I had the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Cummings. And what he told me, he said, young man, every Liberian is welcome on board. Let's work together to build better Liberia. I'm glad to have you on board, but here's my warning to you and any other person coming on board. I have zero tolerance for corruption. If you come on board, if God willing, we win the election, many people are going to have the opportunity, but our government is not going to be the government as usual. It's going to be a government that has zero tolerance for corruption. And if you get caught in corrupt scandal, you're going to be prosecuted and you're going to face jail time. You know, when it comes to corruption, there are two deterrents. Either because you have the sense of morality, and because of that, you don't want to be corrupt, or because you fear that you could be put in jail. Like you live in Europe, whether in Norway or England, if you're caught in corruption, what does happen to you? You go to jail, right? I lived in America for the past 25 years, and I know how many high-ranking government officials at federal level, at state level, go to jail for corruption. And I believe that we too want the same thing in Liberia. Let the rule of law be implemented fully so that if anyone is caught in corruption, you must pay. You must go to jail. That's the only deterrence. Either you have a fear of God or fear of punishment that will make you shame to your friends and your countrymen and your family members and things like that. So obviously, if you have a government and the government cannot punish corrupt people by putting them in jail, that government is not a serious government. And I believe that Cummings government is going to be something different from what we've seen over the years.
Okay, guys, the floor is yours. You can give your comment or you can ask questions.
Linford, can I make a quick announcement?
Yes.
Amanda will make it so Miata is in the background replacing Amanda, so you can bring her on.
Okay, but this Miata looks like a man, so let me.
Hello, really?
Sorry, I was still looking at the haircut. Sorry, Miata. Yeah. Okay, so we work on our second guest, Miata Herring.
Miata, welcome on board. How you doing today?
I'm fabulously fantastic.
Wow, that sounds great.
Always ready for the revolution.
Oh,
welcome to the bottom line. Okay, so gentlemen, like I said,
Since Miata is a student of Stockley Carmichael, Kwame Ture.
That's right.
So Paul and Mark, We all listen to the video here, and Mr. Cornell has given a synopsis what the CPP government will do. So if you got any comment or you got a question, you can flow, guys.
Yeah. Greetings to Sis Miata and welcome to the show. And greetings to Brother Connor. Welcome to the show. Sometimes when someone from the West is talking about corruption, it's sometimes laughable to me that they talk about corruption in Africa, and to African leaders, right? But let us get to corruption, how it's been embedded in Africa from this time of colonialism to having these steward dictator that will do their work for them, and how our people in Africa have not benefited from the multinational companies in across Africa. For example, like Liberia, we have Firestone in Liberia since the time of Edwin J. Barclay and Charles D.B. King. And we got Lamco Yekepa that was in Liberia since 1953 and started production in 1955. What has Liberia benefited from the multinational companies in Liberia? And every time a president, for example, why was President Tolba overthrown? If you investigate the 16 men that overthrew the late President Tolba, I have done some research on it. Those 16 men, they came from different battalions across the country. And how were they put together? Who organized them? So was it because President Tolba went against certain interests for which he was overthrown? We have not got answer for that. So his video is good. And then let us get to the exploitation of Africa by the West. These are questions sometimes. When I see this video, it's laughable, but I believe that we as African leaders should take matter into their hands when it comes to fighting corruption, when it comes to Western countries manipulating our government to get their interest, and our people get the drop in the bucket that doesn't benefit Liberia. Now, when it comes to Mr. Cummings' government, I think a perfect example would be set, and Liberian people will start to believe if there will be an investigation, for example, as to the millions of dollars that gone missing in the WIA government, mismanagement in the WIA government. You cannot let that go by and you think so you're going to set example within your own government first. Liberian people would need to know why, when, how, what, and why corruption took place in the past government, and they are not answered. So I stop here for now. I got no question to the guests concerning the video.
Good. Paul?
Corruption killed a nation. Corruption does not make nation to prosper. Corruption is a dirty disease, and it's something that has been in Liberia from the time I was born. That's why we don't move anywhere. The message that we just heard, corruption is a bad thing. It stops young children from going to school. That's why in Liberia, you see 5-year-old, 7-year-old kids selling cold water, plenty chips between cars. Because when one group of people decide to steal, the nation suffer. And that's how I see it. And the CPP, I think the chairman will talk about it, and says, Miata, welcome. What the CPP will do to help those young children to stop selling cold water, plenty chips, coconut candy between cars that's supposed to be in school. Those are future leaders. Those are things that we're going to look at. So I hope the issue on corruption will be one of the key factors for the CPP government.
Okay, since Miata Herring is just joining us, I've come across her name before, but we want to tell the listeners who you are in the CPP what you do and stuff like that, so that we'll know you, and then we can start from what you do, and then ask you some questions.
Okay, my name is, I like to call my entire name.
Yes,
So
go
my
ahead.
Miata Bide Tira Tuma Yenge Stella Snellborough Herring.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, that exactly the
The
response.
longest Liberian name ever.
I tell you.
So I am not anything but Liberian. Any country you want to take me to, I finish telling you my name. Take me there because I belong there. I'm a Liberian first. I'm a Liberian second. I'm a Liberian third.
Right.
Always a Liberian. So I am a member of CPP because I believe in Alexander Cummings. I believe in his philosophy. I believe in the work that he has done throughout the world in his capacity as executive vice president of Coca-Cola worldwide. When you have a person, particularly a Liberian, who's reached that zenith, and we're talking about corruption, and he has no record of any such thing, to me, it speaks volume. Now, we watch the film and they talk about corruption. Excuse my appearance because Mr. Vasiki just sent me a message and just say I will come join. I didn't even know why I was joining, but like I said, I'm always ready for the revolution. So he sent me, I responded, and here I am just the way that I am. I was working outside. But let's get back to the corruption issue. And we have to be real with ourselves. Liberia particularly. When you look at, it say it take the past along with the present to mold the future. So we got to go back to the past. And when we go back, we see that the system of corruption is systemic in our country. And if we look at and begin to evaluate and assess some of the reasons why Liberia is so corrupt, and nowadays why it is rampantly worse than it ever been, is because of what has been happening in the country. We go back to our history and we look at what we had, what we didn't have. Systems that should have been in place, systems that were not put in place. And because of those lack thereof, here we are. Now, if we look at our history, we were patterned after the United States of America. So our bylaws and constitution is basically American. Being basically American, the question that comes to mind, why didn't we pattern or follow the American system? But we want to do all things American, but when it comes to what needs to be and to be done properly, we never put those things in place.
Yeah, but let me ask you one question.
Sure.
You sounding as if there hasn't been much done about corruption in Liberia. I mean, like I just cited an example, they killed 13 people for rampant corruption.
Right.
Then the same people came and did. I think that's the worst. And I've not heard anywhere in America where they kill somebody for corruption, they will jail you. But we went the extreme, even though our system is patterned after that of the US. But we went the extreme and killed not only one person, at least about 13 people. Then we fought war. Still, this thing can't finish. So, are you suggesting that we have not done much against corruption?
No, but let's take it in terms of what you're talking about, and let's identify reasons for which the coup happened, for which these people were killed. Okay, when you look at it, we come back to things that we are still discussing right now, which is the Congo country issue. So what happened was not based on only corruption. It was based on the issues that affect our country, our nation, our country, and one another. And so one of the reasons that I like to call my entire name is exactly because of that. Because we put stigma on people. We identify them by certain things, whether it's their tribe or whether is the ascension in their position, or going from getting educated or changing their lifestyle or their status. Now we begin to identify them as Congo or country. So when you look at the history, you look at all of those things. Yes, corruption is in America. They didn't put anybody or kill anybody because of corruption like we did. But what is the reason for them doing that? It was a coup. Why did they decide to select these people and put them to the poll? Was it because they were corrupt or what? And that's a good discussion for another day. But here we are, we're talking corruption, we're talking Alexander Cummings, we're talking about what Alexander Cummings or government would do. And Brother Fasiki touched on it. Mr. Cummings already said a couple of things, that when he gets into office, the first thing he doesn't want is a salary. What does he want Liberia to do with the monies that they will pay him? He wants to appoint a corruption czar. He wants that salary to go towards that organization or group that will be heading that corruption office, so that we can go after corruption in the proper way, so that we don't interfere in their work. And that anyone, as he stated, if you're in the stealing business, I'm not your friend, then I'm not the person for you to vote for. And he's made those statements clear every time, so that we all understand what it is. Now, let's move away from this big word called corruption, okay, and put it in a simple term. Corruption, basically, that's stealing. Whether you steal pepper from me, you steal fashion from me, you are corrupt. You're stealing from me. So if we are going there in one form or another, stealing from ourselves, then how do our country progress? And let me tell you, I spent a lot of time. And when I say a lot of time, I'm on the ground 4 times a year, okay? I give you an example. A little kid, little girl, I sent her to go buy me salted Grampy. She goes, she buy the salted Grampy, she come back. She gave me the Grampy, but she doesn't give me my change. So I asked her, what my change? And she looked at me like I'm crazy. So I asked her again, what my change? And she said, I said, what my change? And then she began to give my change. But right away, I had to correct her. Why? Because it's become the habit, the norm, that when people do such thing, they feel like they're supposed to keep your money. But if you didn't give it to them, is it theirs? No, it's not. So if it's not there, why are they taking it? Why are they keeping it? That's how bad the society has become when it comes to corruption. And it's all over the place. Broad daylight, you passing, the policeman on the street is pulling you aside. When he pull you aside, what is he doing? Rather than be doing the job that he ought to be doing, he basically trying to pull you aside, not for some crime that you committed, but because he's going to make up something on you so that you can give him something. And once you give him that something, that's the end of it, he lets you go. That's stealing.
Yes,
so every facet of our government, that's corruption.
Yes, Sis Miata, you just make a reference to the literature. As you were speaking, I was taking note, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the literature, you gave something to you send the literature to purchase something for you, and the literature decide to embezzle, okay, or take that money that wasn't theirs. Yes. That's the same thing in our government. For example, they sell the people mineral resources, and then when the revenue comes, they take the money that is not theirs. So that's a similar pattern that being passed down onto the generation. The government, the parents, the mother and the father doing the same thing. So the children are most likely to do the same thing. So if we want to talk about changing the society, it has to start with the parents in the house. And who are the parents? The government is the parent. For example, if the mother and father in the house are corrupt, got bad habits, it is 199% most likely that the children are going to pick up on that habit. So if we want to fight corruption in Liberia, if we want to transform Liberia to bring some honesty in Liberia, the government is the role model. People say role model, but as a real model for that transformation.
Precisely. When you have a government official, when you have
I
the
agree
government,
with you. Obviously,
can I just make this one point, Vasiki? When you have the government take their hands and put it in the international people money that is being held in the bank, and the people have to go and write them letters. The ambassadors from all over that in Liberia have to write them letters and say, listen, you've been doing this, but let me tell you, you got to put our money back. And you hear the government official say, yes, we'll put our hand in the cookies jar to take the people money. But what the term he used, something hole covering something hole.
Deep hole cover hole.
Hole cover hole. Can you imagine? Can you even fathom that a government official, you're talking about the parents, so that's the parent for us, who's supposed to be guiding us, correcting us, steering us in the right path, admits to stealing. But he said, oh, we're stealing, but we're just taking it to put it back. We're coming to take it and then we put it back.
Yeah, this is matter. As you spoke about, our government was formed in the same pattern of for example, like after America, right? And then you have what the chief prosecutor of the country hearing such. What is the responsibility of the chief prosecutor of the country looking at when such thing happen in America? You guys live in America. What is the Attorney General, okay? The chief prosecutor of America, what is he going to do? Isn't he going to investigate that government? But Connor, I'll leave that for you to come in.
Well, here in America, I think the investigation usually starts with the FBI. FBI is going to investigate an official of government, but before they do that, they know they have a lot of evidence against you. And when they bring the evidence forth, the evidence is taken to court. And the court will issue arrest warrant, or court will decide to prosecute you. You go through the trial. If you are found guilty, beyond all reasonable doubt, and of course you're going to face a jail term. I can give you one clear example here in Philadelphia. There was a very, very powerful senator in Pennsylvania called Vance Fumo. He spearheaded a lot of projects around Philadelphia, but you can't believe that his downfall came by taking bribes here and there. And at the end of the day, he went through the court procedure and he was found guilty for corruption. He lost his Senate seat and he went to jail. And that happens all over here. It happens everywhere in America. You know, what that shows is that corruption is everywhere, but with the deterrence mechanism that you put in place is the reason why people may get involved in corruption and they may get caught. But we have a system where there is no strong mechanism to prosecute people and make them to pay a penalty for their involvement in corruption. So every human being everywhere are the same. Like I said earlier, there are two things will stop you and myself from being involved in corruption. Either you have a fear of God, or you have a fear of being punished. Because imagine you leave your house every day, go out there to work, you have your family, your children, your wife, and your community members. They think you're a big man. They fear that you could come down one day, be corrupt, be put through trial, and be taken to jail. The fear of that will make you to start being corrupt. So we have a lawless society where anything goes. So as a result, people feel like corruption is a norm. Yes, true. In 1980, 13 people were executed and other people were killed for corruption. But what happened, the very people that came to power as a result of quote-unquote fight against corruption, they too were involved in corruption. From Samuel Doe to other officials in the government, they were all involved in corruption. Then Chancellor came, he wanted to correct the situation. He too got there, became corrupt. You know, so they say power corrupt, but absolute power corrupt, absolutely. So any man for that matter, if you are given the power, it takes the fear of God or the fear of the law that make you to avoid corruption. But now, we have an example of Mr. Kumi. The reason many people are gearing towards him is because of his background. Here is a man from a very poor country like Liberia, came to America and went to school. And you know, to rise within a corporate structure in America, it takes a man of courage. It takes a man of confidence. It takes a man of competence to get to that level. Not too many people can excel to the level of corporate leadership in America and the world. So if a man can climb that ladder and be all the way up there, that says a lot about that man's competence. You know, if you compare it to the current regime in Liberia, people say, oh, we are loves Liberia. Well, he could love Liberia, but he's not competent to carry on. So when we talk about corruption here, we should also talk about how incompetent our leaders are. Because the people love the title, people love the power of being a leader, but they may not have the competence to execute the responsibility that will give to them through election. Okay, so as a result, if the leader is not competent, he's going to be looking the other way. Other people are going to be stealing in his government.
So, Brother Connor,
yes,
do you support, as a strong supporter of Mr. Cummings' philosophy and ideology, as I am, don't you think an asset recovery committee should be set up under a Cummings government to recover some of the stolen money from the Ellen Johnson administration to the WEA administration that is in the billions of dollars? Do you support such idea? And will you recommend to Mr. Cummings to set up an asset recovery committee with some lawyers?
I certainly support that idea. It's like I have a background in the military. Okay, if you're serving on a post, if someone is coming to relieve you from that post on that particular occasion, you have, let's say, in a situation where you have maybe the guns and the armor that are given to you. If another person is coming and you are on security duty, everything is written down. You have to give full account of what happened on your watch to the next person that is relieving you. So in this situation here, if Mr. Kumi is taking over, God willing, if he wins the election, obviously the outgoing government should be audited. We should have done that with Madame Salih. Madame Salih was in power for 12 years, and if we came in as a result of the election, you cannot take over if you do not carry on full audit of the outgoing leadership. Because anything that you're going to say afterward, if you do not carry on the audit, you are taking on responsibility. But if you want to deal with transparency, you are going to say, okay, even though I have nothing against you, I'm taking over from you, but it is better, let's know how much you had there before you got there, and how much you are living there when you're living right now. So it's very, very important, and I believe that as transparent as Mr. Kumi is, as competent as he is, I believe that he will order an audit of the WIA administration if he has to take over January 2024.
Let me just jump in quick. One of the problems
Berlin, can you please spare me just 5 seconds? Why should we be limited to only the WIA government, Berakone, and not this including the Salif?
Well, I have nothing against going as far as even beyond Salif. Okay, if it is intended to put the country on the right trajectory, to put us on the right track for development, I mean, we can go as far back as even back later to investigate what happened to all the corrupt, all the money, all the stealing that happened from the time you and I were not born. We have to investigate everything. I believe in that. So it should not just be limited to where government should also go as far as it can go.
Well, I would suggest that we go to the WIA from the Manasali government or even from the Taylor government downwards, because there we have recent documents and living witnesses who will be appearing. But the question I wanted to ask, one of the reasons we always have problems with governments is normally sometimes not with the leader particularly, but people that serve in the government. Now, if you look at the WIA government, there are people who are doing things that the president may not even know. Okay, so how do you think, Mr. Comey, because here we are discussing the policies of the CPP, how do you think a coming government will put things in order when it comes to his key ministers, people that he looks up to make decisions? Are there any blueprints, where that, okay, this is what I will do to put my ministers and my other people in check, unlike just leaving them like, the WIA administration where you can have 4 or 5 people speaking for the government at different points on different occasions, no coordination, and you can have one deputy minister doing something that the minister doesn't even know.
But well, you see, that's why in the hiring process, let's say you have a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're hiring people to do a piece of job for your company, obviously what you have to do, you tell them to bring a CV, you tell them to give some history of their involvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of work they've done in the past, okay? How much do they have right now before they even come up? What have they done for the past 10, 15 years? You do background investigation. In a developed society, if you apply for any job, these are the procedures that are put in place. They investigate your past and your present. They want to know how much money you have now, how much assets you have right now before we give you responsibility, because they want to accept your sense of responsibility before they give you the opportunity to serve. So obviously, to me, before Mr. Comey should hire anyone to be minister, deputy minister in any capacity in the government for that matter, that person should be thoroughly vetted to make sure that he or she has a clean background before that person is given an opportunity to serve. That's the best way to go. Maybe Sis Meda can also add to that.
Of course, and Mr. Cummings has said that, and he continues to say that, and he also set an example in the manner in which he's conducting everything that he's doing, including his vetting of his vice presidential candidates. Because we're so used to having things done the way we do it, everybody was rushing and say, oh, what time is Mr. Comey coming to need his vice president? What time is Mr. Comey coming to need his vice president? Because Mr. Cummings is a thorough person who's what, as executive vice president for Coca-Cola Worldwide, you don't just call your cousin or your friend and come hire them. As Vasiki said, that person have to be experienced. They have to be knowledgeable in whatever position it is that they're going to assume. And they have to bring their CV with all of those things, including references that you will be able to fall back on that will vouch for whatever they say they're doing. And it's that system that Mr. Cummings has been introducing slowly throughout this process as he is going. In 2017, Mr.
Oh,
Well, Okay,
You're
she's
muted.
back. Yeah. You are muted. Just unmute yourself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So Mr. Cummings was one of the, if not the only person in 2017 who, after he lost the election, he didn't leave Liberia. He stayed. He went from county to county to county, thanking everyone
Hello?
that participated, that voted for him. Another example, when Mr. Cummings was taken to court, and Mr. Cummings brought on an international team to look into the matter. Everybody, again, because we're not used to those kind of things, screaming and yelling and say, well, why he got to go bring the foreign people to come investigate this case? But again, Mr. Cummings was setting an example to show us Liberian people, not so much so because of his case, but to show us how bad our justice system is. And so he brought people again who were qualified, who were knowledgeable to come in and assess this case that was placed in front of them so that it can be taken care of properly. Presently, Mr. Cummings is going from town to town, from village to village, from the disenfranchised youth that we call, the Liberian people refer to as Zokos, and he's listening to their issues and their problem, because that gives him an insight and a foresight into what it is that is missing, that we need to put, that is needed to be put in place. And with this government, Mr. Cummings' government, as he has stated, it is not about friendship. He said, I don't want my family involved in this. I don't want my children involved in this. If you're looking for favor from me, forget about it, because I don't do favors like the norm. When Mr. Cummings go out, he's not want to get you faster and faster. You see, everybody kind of bring their own little story so that they can get their own little thing for themselves. No. Mr. Cummings, everywhere, if you follow him, everywhere that he goes, he has what he has. He presents it to the entire group, for the entire group, not for individuals. Okay? So when you look at comparing Mr. Cummings' style to that of others, you see clearly that he is setting a precedent for us and for Liberia to say, fair warning, this is what's coming. When he selected his vice president, he specified that he wanted a female. And not only did he want a female, he wanted a young person. That was a precedent, as far as I'm concerned, not only for Liberia, but for the continent of Africa. There's too many old people on that continent, corrupt old people who stay in office for years and years and years, and they don't want to leave. So here is something brand new that we're going to start. We're going to empower our young people. We're going to select our young people so that if I, Mr. Cummings said, is incapacitated and I cannot carry on, I want someone who will step into my shoe and be able to take over and govern from there. So when you look at Mr. Cummings' style and this new change that he wants to bring to Liberia, it clearly says to me, and most people miss it, that it's going to be a new day. It's not going to be things as usual, okay? And therefore, we're going to do those things and put those modalities in place that will govern our country properly, so that we're on the trajectory and the level of everyone else in the Committee of Nations.
Okay,
Wow. I sat down here patiently enjoying this conversation from all angles. I really loving it. Let move on to something else little bit. The CPP is having the first convention in the US, and this convention has been widely publicized. And I learned that fixer 1, fixer 2, fixer 3, and the entire fixing body will be at the convention. Talk to us about this convention for the first time. The Liberty Party, the ANC, under one umbrella. Talk to us. Chairman, you muted.
Yeah, just look at the microphone sound there and click on it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, coming together is always a great thing for democracy, for development, for progress. So we all know the history of CPP. It started as a collaborative relationship between various opposition groups, which included Liberty Party, ANC, Unity Party, and ALP. But we're not going to go all the way back there. Let's talk about what is CPP today. So what constitutes CPP today are Liberty Party and ANC. These two parties decided to stay together even though the other people broke away. And the goal here still remains the same, to unseat the corrupt regime of George Weah and usher in new dynamic governing process. So we happens to be the representation of CPP Liberia. So this is our first convention, and this convention is mainly intended to raise funds to support our candidate in Liberia. Usually in our country, it is unfortunate that when people are running for office, they become to be paying money for everybody's school fee, everybody going to hospital, they take on a lot of financial burden unnecessarily because we live in a society of poverty. But those of us that live in America, those of you that live in Europe, the system is different here. When candidates are running for president or for whatever elected position for that matter, their supporters contribute financially to their electoral victory. Here, people contribute as little as $5, $10, $20 to support their candidates. But we in Liberia, we expect the candidate to come and give us money first before we can even make up our mind. But we know that our people in Liberia and those so far abroad, we are not in the same economic condition. So we decided as members of CPP USA, just like any other political party affiliates are doing in America, that we're going to organize a conference, a convention, so that we can raise funds to support our candidate because we believe in him. Okay? There's a lot of need for support for our candidates in Liberia, for our party in Liberia. Logistically, they need support. They need support to move around. They need support for so many things, for pool washer. Because elections usually is not just won in the capital, but it is lost in the interior because there's not too many eyes watching the process. And that's where a lot of cheating can happen. So if you are involved in the electoral process, you don't have pool watchers watching every step of the way in every town and city, every village and hamlet. If you don't have that, then you can lose the election. So we are certain that we're going to win this election, but there are things that we have to do. Those things cannot happen if we don't raise money to support the process. So that's the reason we are having this convention. Every one of our members that are coming from everywhere are going to dig in their pocket because it's a sacrifice for Liberia. You're not going to sit down, Mr. Kumi is a millionaire, let him go spend $1 million. Billionaires don't spend their own money to run campaign in an advanced society. So we too that live here, we're not going to say, oh, Mr. Comey is the millionaire, let him spend his money. If we believe in the process, we all have to dig in our pocket to put our nickel and dimes and dollar there so that we can support him. If he wins, he knows that we can hold him accountable for all the money we're going to be giving to support his candidacy. We're going to hold him accountable to do the right thing when he gets there.
Okay, I know Paul and Mark want to come in, but there is something that people have always said, even to me, in as much as I also support people in Liberia from my own pocket. People, the very people sometimes that I support will look at me and say, I'm chasing Cummings for money. That Cummings get money, that's why we're supporting him. So I want to ask you this question. Let's lay this into rest. Why is it that Mr. Cummings is a millionaire? But those of us that sympathize with him, and even people who are CPP and ANC registered members, will still have to pay money toward his campaign. It said, what is it about? Why do we do that? Because people are already accusing you and myself who support Mr. Cummings because he got money, that's why we are supporting him. And he pay us to do it. But then why I say this opposite way that we are sponsoring his campaign?
Well, the fact of the matter here is that Mr. Comey had never given me a dime before. I've never gotten a dime from him. But you see, here's the issue. In Liberia right now, let's say in many countries around the world, when you talk about election, there's usually going to be 3 top candidates. So at this moment, you have 3 top candidates: the current president, Mr. Cummings, and Omer Baka. Here is the reason why I support Cummings. We've seen the 6 years of Josh Weah. Then the question I've asked everyone from time to time is, are you satisfied for the past 6 years? Or do you think we need to reprogram ourselves? And if I ask you, if you take statistics in Liberia, many people are going to say we're not satisfied with the status quo because they have not lived up to promise. Now, you go to old man Wakai, I see him to be the elder version of Josh Weah. Because here is an old man who is very tired. He'd rather be sitting down somewhere in retirement. But because other people want to exercise power behind the throne, behind the scene, they push the old man to be there so they can be ruling the country indirectly in his name. You hear people saying, oh, whether he's sleeping, not sleeping, we're still going to vote for him. You know, we have heard some terrible things when it comes to election in Liberia. 1997, what was his slogan? Whether you kill my pa, you kill my ma, I still vote for you, right? Mm-hmm. And when it came to Weah, the slogan was, whether he can be educated or not educated, we'll vote for him. Now people saying, whether he's sleeping, not sleeping, we'll vote for him. So why are we always developing negative slogans like that? Knowing very well that someone is very tired, someone is not in the right frame of mind to carry on what you're expecting to do, but you're still going to say you're going to vote for him. So we believe that if you look at all of them, we have track record is already there. We've seen 6 years of terrible economy, terrible economic situation. Are we willing to continue with that? Are you satisfied with your life? Are your life better today than it was 6 years ago? That's the question we need to ask about Joe Weah. Now, when it comes to Waka, we all know the situation there. So among all of them, given their track record, we believe that Cummings is the best option for Liberia. And that's the reason we are supporting him. I'm not supporting him because he's paying. I don't even know him that well to say I'm going to depend on him for money. So I'm supporting him based on his track record because I believe that if he wins, Liberia wins. That's the reason we're supporting him, not because he has money.
Thank you. Let me come in there for a second. So you asked the question about and gave an example about the people that you speak to, and it said that they will go behind Cummings just to eat his money. Again, as we said previously, those kind of behaviors are systemic. It's been the norm. That's what we've been used to. Why? Because we know that previous government, the only time we see them is election time. And election time, when they come, what do? They have our money, which we think is their money, to dish out to us in order to get us to support them, to vote for them. So now they're used to collecting this free money and they're used to eating the free money. Here comes an Alexander Cummings, who now they've heard is a millionaire. Okay? How he got his money, it's not important. Did I say we want to know? As long as he got the money, he bring the money, we eat the money. But this time, it's a change because Mr. Cummings worked for his money. He hasn't been in the government. Therefore, he doesn't have government money. It's his own money. How he got that money? By working hard for Pillsbury Company, for Coca-Cola Company, and he invested well. So because of the money that he made, the investment that he made, which is still now turning over and giving him what they call residual income, he's able to do what he's doing. Those kind of things we don't know in our society. I always say, and I write, and I say, Liberia's problem is not politics. Liberia's problem is illiteracy, which breeds the magnitude of ignorance that our nation is faced with today. And it's that ignorance that has our people still believing the lack of education, no knowledge, still believing that they got to get paid in order for them to vote. Somebody got to buy their vote. And this is the change that Mr. Cummings come with. No, I don't give anything from Mr. Cummings. It's what I believe. I believe that with Mr. Cummings' philosophy, with the things and plan that he said within 100 days, what he's going to implement in the country, which is what's going to take our people out of the poverty and put them somewhere where they can be making their own living wage to support their family, is what's important to me and to most of us who believe in Mr. Cummings. Because once you give people a job and they can get their own wages and get it on time, they will have no reason to do the things that they're doing. They will have no reason to steal. You got example, I sent some money. My young man who picked up the money went to the bank. The bank teller said they take her $10 from my money. I said, for what? For her fee. Who told her she was getting fee? I said, go back in that bank and go straight to her, get the phone, and let me ask her, because when I can't there, I will come to the bank to report her. But if we have, as Mr. Cummings want to write things, put it in the right place, bring factory to the country, where our young children, if they were working like we work in the Western world, 3 shifts, you think they will have time to gossip? You think they will have time to talk? They will be too busy working and be too exhausted. Now there's nothing to do. There's too much free time going around. So when you look at what is and what is to be, when, and I don't say if, I say when Mr. Cummings become the president, between his experience and his vice standard bearer, Charlene Bromsky's experience, you think any business will be coming to rob us? She will look at and review those concessions and contracts that will be coming, while he, with his global knowledge and connection, will be making sure that the people out there in the world trust him enough to come back and bring businesses into our country so that our people can be able to get the kind of education, healthcare, or jobs that they would need to grow. So also, when we talk about coming to Philadelphia, one important thing that Fasiki didn't mention is the fact that, again, the CPP is a coming together of us. Mr. Cummings does not want segregation, separation, deviation. He talks about this bowl of rice that he wants everybody to put their hand in. Depending on how much your hand can hold, when I was giving a speech, talk to some of my people in this district, said 16, the other time when I was there. I said, if you know how to pamo, and one of y'all know what they call pamo, you put your hair in that bowl. Depending on what you digging, that can fit in the hair, that the one will fit in your mouth and will be sweet because the meat will be in the bottom of it. And that's the philosophy and idea that Mr. Cummings has towards us. This bowl is for all of us. The CPP is a coming together. It's a marriage of all of us Liberians. Unfortunately, the other people didn't see it and they ran away from the CPP. But with the Liberty Party and ANC coming together and inviting everybody, we're not excluding anybody from coming to the dinner in Philadelphia. Everybody's welcome. Wherever party you belong to, you are welcome. Come, listen, learn, because we live to learn in order that we learn to live better. That is the whole idea. That is the whole philosophy behind the CPP, behind this convention. So we come together under one umbrella and that we show Liberia a new way of doing things, that you don't have to be stealing in order to be fooling people in order to vote for you, that you can honestly get money and support your people on ground who's going to be running campaign, and you honestly elect the people that you want to put in office. And Alexander Cummings and Charlene Bromsky are the exact marriage for the future of the Republic of Liberia.
For
Okay,
the
quickly,
future
Mr. Chairman,
of
we're talking about this convention who Mark will come in. But
Zinford,
tell us how many, very shortly, how many days do we expect this convention to hold for?
Well, the convention starts on the 30th of June, Friday. That's when, actually, from Thursday through Friday, guests are going to be arriving from various places. People are going to be gathering from around here. We're going to have a meet and greet. That will happen in Burlington, New Jersey. Burlington is in New Jersey, but it's next door to Philadelphia. So we're all going to be gathering together on Friday as a meet and greet. We're going to have a lot of camaraderie because many of us have been talking on the phone, we've been in Zoom conferences, but we have not met face to face. Since Mieta and I, we met each other many times. I've met some of the people, but some of the CPP members, we were operating as Liberty Party, some of them were operating as, ANC and other Liberians. So many people that are part of CPP, this is going to be the first time we will come together to meet each other face to face. So that meeting face to face is going to happen on Friday evening in New Jersey. Then on Saturday, we're going to have a business meeting. Business meeting is going to be discussing internal matter relating to the smooth operation of the convention, and Mr. Kumi is going to give her, Mr. Kumi and Charlene, Vice Presidential candidate Charlene, going to give us some briefing about what is happening in Liberia now. Okay? After that business meeting Saturday morning, which is going to also happen in another section of Pennsylvania in Bristol, we're going to go to Trenton to visit some Liberian places. Then from there, we're going to come to Philadelphia, where the main program is going to be taking place. And as the schedule dictates, we're going to be visiting Liberian businesses in Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is progressive in the sense that, in the 90s, when many of us came here, businesses in the Woodland Avenue corridor used to be dominated by the Korean, the Chinese, the Vietnamese. But if you come there today, it's a different place. Now, I'm sure if you Google it, say Africa Town, it's going to take you to Southwest Philadelphia. There's a huge African community, particularly Liberian. And there's so many of our people are involved in businesses around here. So we want Mr. Kumi to have the experience of that Liberian business development in this area. There's an organization called ACANA, African Cultural Alliance of North America, which is spearheading the African Town Project, which is being supported by the state and the city and the state government. So also want Mr. Kumi to see all of that development, the people here in America, the development and progress they are making. So we're going to be taking on a tour of Liberian businesses. Then in the evening, we're going to have the ball, the fundraising. That's where we expect to raise as much as $100,000 to $200,000 to support the campaign in Liberia. Okay? Then Saturday is going to be another opportunity. Sunday is going to be another opportunity for Mr. Kumi to meet Liberians in Trenton. There's a church service at the Methodist Church where we're going to be he's going to be joining the congregation of that church on that particular Sunday. And thereafter, we're going to have a town hall meeting where Liberians in New Jersey, from South Jersey, from Central Jersey are going to be present to ask Mr. Kumi any question they have in their mind. I've been going around, people asking me a whole lot of questions, but I said, look, I could answer questions, but reserve all your questions for our candidate. He's the main person he and the vice presidential candidate, they are in far better position to answer your question than me. So these are the various activities that have been planned for our SB and the VSB. And I would like to assist Miara to touch on that as well.
Well, you clearly stated it is very important because Mr. Cummings also talked about tourism and we sat down and we allowed Ghana to come and take away from us. I'm going to get up for a second. Take away from us what actually is ours. Ghana and Senegal were the port of exit. Liberia is the door of return. While we were busy fighting over who's supposed to be citizen and who not supposed to be citizen, forgetting that our constitution said Liberia was founded by the Colonization Society for the free slaves. So automatically, you're supposed to have citizenship. While we were busy doing that, fighting amongst ourselves, Ghana said, oh, we're British. Since y'all don't want to engage your people, we're going to go engage them. And you see the result of that. Ghana engaged the African American community. They were the port of exit. We the door of return. We allowed them to take away from us what should have been ours. So with a Cummings administration, we're going to come back to our cousins in America and say, come home. Come home. We're always speaking. I work for the Newark public school system. I use every opportunity to teach about Liberian history. Every conference I went to, I was prepared in my African clothes to talk about Liberia and the connection between Liberia and America. So part of this would be to invite the city of Philadelphia, as Vasiki rightly put it. We want to form that collaboration because communication, collaboration equals result. And what Mr. Cummings is bringing, what we are looking for the future of Liberia is result so that our people's life would be changed forever. So Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, is the reason why the conference is going on. And the reason why we are going on tour, so Mr. Cummings again can listen and learn and meet the Liberian people who are doing businesses here, not just in Philadelphia, but all over the United States, who want to return, who want to go and start those businesses there so that he can see them, meet them, greet them, present his ideas to them and invite them to come in 2024 when he becomes president. So we're trying to say, Liberia, we are one. Liberians will not cry. We not support people cheering in Liberia, the cheering until now we're supporting the cheering. We're all tired. We're all tired.
We're all tired. So on that note, I just want to add something, just a quick announcement too. while Philadelphia will the brotherly love and sisterly affiliation will be busy next weekend. The following weekend too, the ANC CPP Europe will be in Norway too, doing something similar to what you guys are doing. So this is a
Ah,
quick flyer for you guys to see. See,
Mhm.
the Norway, Scandinavia will be on that weekend of the 7th to the 9th of July. So people will be heading over there too from the Scandinavian to make that. They're having a fundraiser too to help Mr. Cummings get to the seat. And we're doing it from all part of the world. So just to let you all know. And we
you should
also
have told me early, man.
so and also we this is also we air this uh, we're online we're on the online radio. We're also on the Red Power radio station in Liberia. So we do everything. So just to let you know that victory is setting. It's just around the corner, but it's from all over the globe hitting Liberia. So I wanted to ask you this question before the rest of my panelists come in. You've been on the ground. You go there. You said most often.
Yes,
And guess you got your voter registration card?
absolutely.
Okay, so tell us about the ground. What is the momentum on the ground for the CPP for this 2023?
The momentum is good. Okay, despite all the things that you hear, CPP is on the ground and CPP is working. CPP has a strategy. The thing is that, with us Liberian people, like I alluded to earlier, we have one way of doing things, and we know one way of doing things, and we're expecting to happen now. You know, it's about right now. Don't tell me about tomorrow. Tomorrow will come, but tell me about now. So the people on the ground and the people that talk in particularly who has never been on the ground, but they're listening to hearsay, they say, and everybody else say, half the thing that they're telling you is not true. On the ground, because I've been on the ground and been on uh, um, tours with Mr. Comey in places that I never ever dreamed about. Places that I've been to where they don't even have a means of getting water because there's no well because the place is swampy. I remember one place we went to, they had to put a woman in a wheelbarrow and pass her over one piece of plank that was over the water. I'm like, Lord, if we all get on the plank, we all coming further in the dirty water. But even in those spots, there were Liberian people, there were CPPP people who there quietly, softly, gently speaking to people. That's the group that we have, our women group called the Betsy. The Betsy group, they go with missionary star. And they go from community to community, just engaging people, one person at a time, one household at a time, one family at a time, things that never happened before. So quietly, those things are happening. There's another young man, or CPP partisan, Pat Mandela, who has a movement, a group of people that's going from community to community, setting up offices, you see? And then there are those silent voters who are not speaking. And I speak to them. I've met with doctors and I've met with religious people. And those people have their own methodology of reaching out, but they're not saying it because, of course, you don't want the other side to pick up on what you're doing. One, secondly, some of them working within this government and they got to secure their jobs, their family health, and all like that. So you don't see them jumping around, singing song, beating drum, muya muya sound. We're coming, coming, coming. But trust me when I tell you, the movement is there. And if you've seen from Maryland to Bong, you see the momentum, and you will see more. Trust me, between now and August, it will be a whole new change. So let me tell you, don't believe all that you hear. Take it with a grain of salt. People who say nobody know coming, they say that 7%, the 7% that's 10 to 70 times 7 times 7 times 7. And the movement is there. There are people working, and they're working in a new fashion. They're working in a way like you never seen before or that you used to, but they are working. So don't be fooled. And don't sit and take it for granted either. Speak to your family, tell them, invite them to go to the headquarters and become a part of the movement. Because this is not just for this election, this is a movement for the future. And that's it.
Mark and Linford, you go. Huh?
Yeah.
Back in the day, Public Enemy came out with a song called "Don't Believe the Hype." You know,
Yes.
people, that is simply to say in the Liberian scenario, all the people that are talking about 7%, they will be surprised this time around. You know, when Mr. Cumming went to the Southeast recently, and he pulled out a huge crowd from Buchanan to Banga to the Southeast, the crowds are coming out because people are asking themselves, are you better off now than you were 6 years ago? That's a very powerful question. It means that if you're not tired of suffering, you want to continue suffering for another 6 years? Or do you want a new turn of a leaf? Or do you want a new scenario? You want something better than what, than the past 6 years? Our people are not full. If a child is hungry, the child wants to eat. A hungry man is an angry man, right? Bob Marley says so. So our people are hungry. Our people are tired. They are tired with poverty. They are tired with suffering. So it's about time now that they gave this man a Messiah that is going to bring new development and progress to our country. So those that are talking about 7%, they are way, way behind.
And there were I come in, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, and 10-6 Miatad. There's something that they call silly slogan in every society, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the deficit of education and system structure. When you hear silly slogan in any society, that means that society has a deficit of education and of system structure. The next thing, Cummings, the 7% you talk about. Cummings is a chess player. He's the only politician in the history of Liberia, been traveling the country, and the traveling Mr. Cummings traveled the country. He laying his chess board as to what need to be done, what the people expect of him, what are the counties going to benefit under his leadership. Cummings is not just traveling for popularity or to introduce himself to Liberian people, but he's drawing his chessboard and he's laying a map as to what he need to be done from his first 100 days in office. Policy will be put in place. Then they come to, how they call it, say, nobody know Cummings. Cummings is a builder. He's not a coward. He doesn't run away from competition. That's why after the election, the 7%, he stood his ground. And today, look at what ANC has become. Then I want to touch on the CPP. We are all glorifying the CPP today. But one person deserves credit, and I wish to extend that credit to that person personally, is Chairman Musa Hassan Belete, that were thrown insults of stone as like sand, and he stood his ground. Has Musa Belete, I'm being honest here, right? Has Musa Belete not stood his ground and followed the wave of other people? Today we won't be speaking of CCP. So Chairman Musa Belete, in as much as we praise the Charlene, we praise Mr. Cummings, Chairman Musa Hassan Belete deserves some recognition and some praises for standing his ground for what? For what is right. He did not give into corruption. From the tape that Brother Paul played, institutional corruption make people to be pursued easily. And Chairman Musa Belete never gave into corruption. Now, when it comes to education, right? This thing of qualification, a con artist who go to school, to university and got degree, it's only for him to be a sophisticated con artist. But that person's passion to serve their people, the commitment to serve their people, to take their people out of degradation, poverty, that's what matters most. That person can bring the most sophisticated from Harvard, from Yale University accomplishment, and that person become the best con artist, political con artist, which we are seeing across Africa. With all the accomplishment, academically, some of them go behind, it tends to be the opposite. And I will end on that. I got no comment. And how they call it, we see the momentum, as Nyata said, something never been done before from the CCP, from the CPP, and Charlene Bronski's background as a lawyer, and Mr. Cummings as someone from the corporate world. I think they're going to do how they call it, a good job for the Liberian people. And the Liberian people expectations are high. So that is something Mr. Cummings has on his agenda to start to deliver on his first 100 days.
All right. Let me piggyback on your mention of Chairman Musa Hassan Belete. I'm proud to call him my brother, my friend, from the same place, Saklepe, Nima County. Chairman, we call him, is the most powerful political figure in Liberia today. And it is a great thing that he stood up with Mr. Cummings. You know, Musa is successful in terms of business. Musa has been in business way beyond 2005. He was in business from 1990 all the way now. Musa has been in business. And when you're in business for that long, you can only succeed if you are rightly guided. Today, he's blessed with some opportunity. He could have said, I'll go to Banca, I'll go to this person and that person. But Musa is a very sincere person. If you go back to when Musa supported Josh Weah to be the senator, right? Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's son was running for the same position and giving Musa a relationship with Madame Sirleaf. Musa told Madame Sirleaf, yes, I value my relationship with you, but I do not support your son. I support Jawea. Okay? And Jawea became a senator. Then comes to 2017 election, Musa supported Bromsky. Some people say, oh, Musa is Ellen's errand boy, but Musa is a man of his own. He has his own capital. He's not a hungry politician just running behind anybody here and there. He has his own capital. So he does not have to support Mr. Kumi. Mr. Kumi can't give any money to Musa that Musa can get for himself. But the fact that he has stood behind the man shows that he has absolute confidence in Cummings' ability, his competence to lead Liberia. That's where we are today. We all come to CPP through the leadership of Musa Belete. He's a great man, and the fact that he is teaming up with Cummings, it shows that we are heading to the right direction.
Great.
And if I can add to that, importantly, for our people, we go with the wind. I say we are auditory society. Anything somebody say, we know it, we don't investigate it, we just repeat it. For a person, my respect for the chairman's chairman, the chairman's chairman, Musa Belete, is the fact that you have a person who, one, believe in God, two, believe in the power of his parents, his ancestors, who worked hard, but importantly, who stood up and challenged everything. When you have an organization as FIFA, where people around the world will not dare to go and say, I want to be, Musa Hassan Belete stood up and said, me, are going after that. Just that alone speaks volume for him to make that attempt. A boy from Liberia, this little country, want to go and head this big old organization that's powerful around the world. To me, beyond everything else, it's like, wow, wow. But people don't understand it. Rather than stop, listen, so that they will comprehend and understand, they listen to the hearsay, they say, who say, and they go with the flow. Musa supposed to be this, Musa supposed to be that, Musa supposed to be in jail. But here's the question. If Musa was supposed to be all of these things, why are the FIFA big shot, big wigs in jail, and Musa stays sitting down in Liberia, going about his life? I want people critical thinking.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Listen, yes, but
Michel
those people were playing Ludo.
Michel Platini.
Ludo. You know what they were in Ludo? They don't cheat everything in Ludo that cheating. Backward and forward. Says for lay. They're not again the white man male. So they play Ludo, they play checker. But now Musa Belete, Alexander Cummings, Charlene Bromskin, they're playing chess. They're playing chess. And let me just quickly add this. In 2017, 2016, 2012, I don't remember. But when I look at Liberia, I said, you know why? All the Pakutengue, they know all people that they set in their ways. So you know what I will do? I will introduce chess. And I started, if you ever heard in Liberia, about Liberia thinks, chess is the game. It's the program that I started for the children and put it in schools and community so that they can begin to critically think about it. And when you mentioned that Mr. Cummings is chess, you just kind of took me there because that's what we want us to be. That's what we want our children to be. No more Ludo play. No more checker play. We play chess now.
Yeah, let me mention this small little fact about Musa that many people don't understand. The longest time Musa spent in America was 7 months in 1997. Musa filed for political asylum just like many other Liberians. But Musa abandoned that political asylum process to go back to Liberia when Chancellor was still there. And when he called me that night and said, I'm going back home, I'm like, are you crazy? With all the terrible news coming out of Liberia because the Chancellor, you're going back there and say, you told me one day, say, I used to be a boss in Liberia. I cannot come to America and be working for other people. I'd rather go back to Liberia. And that's how the young man went back in 1997. No, 1999. He went back to resume his business because what happened when you were doing business before, you know, in business is a risk for that matter. Things goes up, things go down.
Yeah.
So when things went down, Musa came to America just like many other people, but he was disillusioned with life in America. He said, I want to go back home. The young man went back home and Sunday he had never looked back. He comes here, visit us, and go back. He visits around the world. So this is the man that believes in Liberia. This is the man that said, he said, look, America, you can have everything you want, but I'm better off in Liberia. He went there at the time when many Liberians were finding any kind of excuse to leave that country. So you have to give that man the credit he deserves. As a young Liberian investor, not too many Liberians, many people get in politics in Liberia as a source of riches, you know? Because they see political position as an opportunity to become rich. But here is a man that built himself up from the bottom to the top. He didn't come from a wealthy family background. He struggled for everything he has. Now, people who don't know him think that Musa became suddenly rich when Madame Saleh became president. Musa was doing her own business before Madame Saleh became president. Matter of fact, when Musa decided to support Madame Saleh, Kennedy said in 2005, his radio station, True FM, was already up and running. He gave his radio station to Madame Saleh to run her campaign from place to place. So Musa didn't go to Madam Salif as a poor man begging for survival. Musa was already a successful businessman by the time Madam Salif started running her campaign in 2005. So he contributed financially to her campaign. That's one thing people don't know. They just think that Musa became suddenly rich when Madam Salif became president.
Brother Connor,
Yes.
is it right? As somebody who know Musa, I don't know Musa that much, that he's someone read by Amos Sawyer, or he went to the Amos Sawyer. I mean, when I'm in school of thought, he was someone around the late Amos Sawyer. Is that right?
Well, Musa had a great relationship with Dr. Sawyer, but Musa was introduced by Dr. Sawyer, to Dr. Sawyer by Clifford Flemister. Clifford Flemister was a mentor to me and Musa. You know, I basically introduced Musa to Clifford Flemister, and Clifford Flemister took us under his wings. It just happened that I came to America, Musa stayed there. So he worked, he was introduced to Dr. Sawyer by Mr. Flemister, and he became like one way or the other, a protege of Dr. Sawyer. Was a very good friend of Sawyer up to his death. But Sawyer did not raise him. Musa was raised by his own father, parent. Even though his father and mother didn't have money, but they had integrity, they were great people, they raised their son. Okay, the son affiliated with Dr. Sawyer through Clifford Flemister.
Okay, I just wanted to get that right because, you know, they say, and as somebody who know Musa very well, and thanks for that clarification.
Okay, you know, I sat down very glued to my seat and listened to the discourse as it unfolded, and I have learned a lot. But I would just be sorry to say that our time is far spent. We should get out of here in the next 10 minutes or so. And it's good that Mark recognized Chairman Musa's ability. We're making efforts. We've not taken direct contact with Chairman ability, but it's good that the chairman, the other chairman is here, you know, who is a brother to Chairman ability. And we are giving you this responsibility. We are not asking you, we are putting it in your lap. Take the message to Chairman ability that the bottom line, we want to host him.
Okay.
If we want us to set our own time, we will say next week, Tuesday. But
Okay.
we'll leave it with you, let him be flexible, but in a very shortest possible time. And it's a time that I think Mark should be able to give Chairman Ability his flower when he's present. You know, I believe in this saying that give me a flower while I say yes, so I can smell it. Go, when Dana, you kind of go. So Chairman Ability will be here with us. Chairman Vasiki Kone, I believe that will happen.
Yeah, definitely. I can guarantee you that.
Mr. Communication Director, I thank you for that. Request that you put in, because I was waiting for that to come from you and Chairman Paul. And honestly speaking, if we go back to the genesis of the CPP, this guy took insults. He took insults more than he's still taking the insults, right? But he stood his ground. If you listen to that tip, and Brother Paul, I want you to share that tip with me, because that tip got millions of questions when it comes to corruption. How corruption, when it corrupt the mind of the people, then the people, they are lost. And that is one of the things when people say, oh, Liberian, a half of Liberian to come together, go to the root cause why Liberian cannot come together. It's something embedded in the society. That's the corrupt mind. And I thank you guys for the show. And I thank Chairman Conan, and I thank Sis Miata. This is my closing statement. And Chairman Paul, Brother Linford, I thank you guys for the program.
Yeah, before y'all start thinking, I just want the chairman to talk, because I know he's a writer. He has written many books. Chairman, any new book on the market? Can you give a few briefly on it?
Well, I have 2 different books in the making.
Right.
I have a book of poetry. Now I have a collection of short story and essays that are coming out through Ford Publication in Liberia. But it's still in the editing stage. And hopefully, once we put this campaign behind us, then I'm going to put my attention on the books.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully, under the new administration of Cummins, We're going to invite President Kumi to attend my book launching program in Morovia.
Okay.
That would be a great event.
That's a great
Someone
one,
will
yeah.
be there to see the occasion. But I want to say thank you very much. And since Miata, I've heard her name many times I've seen it on the internet, but I've not seen you in person. And it was a great opportunity. I think coincidentally that you have to become a guest on the show tonight. But
I
let
know,
this
right?
not be the last time. We'll always get to you when we want you to discuss the issue. And Chairman Fasiki Kwane, of course, we wish you guys successful convention, and we'll come back here again with you to tell us the outcome of the convention, how successful it was, and what more things you need to do up to the coming of the campaign. And again, let me re-echo. We are looking forward to you to reach the chairmanability, and we need some response from you in the next few hours or so, or maybe 2 days. You see me pass short as small, so Disney that's so short. I can make it long. Okay, so I think it was a great show, except that we want to give our two guests the shortest time that they can have to give us their parting comment. So we start. You see, they say ladies first, but today I want to make it lady last because there's something good I want to tell us. So, Chairman, please give us a parting comment, and then we'll come to our sister.
Well, first of all, we give thanks and praises to the Most High, who keeps His life in all of us. And second of all, I give thanks to you guys for inviting us to this program. Your co-host, Brother Jamil Kamara, is a very, very, very good friend of mine. We go way back. So when he told me that he wanted us to appear on this show, I said, well, anything you say, you're the boss. It's a done deal. Okay, I talked to Melvin Logan, who is our general coordinator, and I talked to Amanda, who is the program coordinator, the convention coordinator. They're supposed to be here. I think the flyers went around. There's my picture, their pictures on there. But you know, when you live in a white man country, your job schedule may not permit you to do certain things. And because of that, Mr. Logan could not be here. And as well, Amanda, she's en route. She traveled to Maryland. She got stuck there for some reason. She's supposed to be leaving, but the plane could not leave. But as we started this program today, she was sitting at the airport trying to get back home to North Carolina, so she couldn't make it. And Sister Miata, as I told you before, she is the student of Brother Kwame Ture. If you know any one of you that is familiar with the Black Power struggle in America, Kwame Ture was a great man. His name was Stokely Carmichael. He spent some time in Liberia, then he went to Guinea. But while in Liberia, since Miata had encounter with Brother Kwame Ture, I also met him years later on. So since Miata is a student of Kwame Ture. Kwame Ture, whenever you met him, you shake your hand and say, are you ready for the revolution? So when I called Sister Miata, I said, look, Logan is not going to be here. Amanda is not going to be here. Are you ready to come on board the show so we can talk about CPP convention? Sister Miata said, ready for a revolution. And now she's here. She's a great person, resources for that matter, who has great years of experience. I've never seen any Liberian that can travel like Sis Miata. Last year, we traveled together to Panama for a week. It was a great time to be with her. So Sis Miata is my ally in many other things. You know, from the literary circle to the political circle, she's a great person. So she's ready anytime to jump on board to do anything that is good for Liberia. So I give her the opportunity to give the parting words.
Thank you. I know what you're talking me, a jack of all trade, boss, but not always ready for the revolution. But you see, importantly, when you started speaking, you started referencing God. And I sat down and I thought about it. You know, nothing happened by mistake. Nothing happened by mistake. Okay. My being here, the way that I am, it was God's doing. That's why He's a mysterious God. and he always does things the way that he wants to do it. So it was not a mistake that Chairman and Amanda couldn't be here. And when you call me right now, I tell you the truth, I can't even read none of your name there on that thing there because I can't see. I even pick up my glasses. That's how bad it is. See me with my t-shirt and everything. But what God has in store, no man can take away.
That's
And
right.
that's important for all of us to keep in mind. God first. I was fortunate and blessed at 15 years old to work with Stokely Carmichael in Liberia because he happened to be married to Miriam Makeba. And when she came to the United Nations and spoke against apartheid, or when she was going home back to South Africa, they banned her from coming. So Liberia gave her asylum. And so Liberia was her home. And at the time, she was married to Stokely Carmichael. Now, we started the first national theater in the Republic of Liberia called Blamadon Theater Workshop with Kona Kaisu, who was the artistic director, and Philemon Ho was from South Africa. And so Miriam and Stokely became supporters of Blamadon Theater Workshop, of which I was a member of. And that's how we connected and begin to fight against apartheid. So the activism started from way back my childhood time. So when he talked, we're in the writing business because we started a publishing company to publish books for Liberian schools by Liberian. Clark Herring Publishing. So there's a whole bunch of other story or other things that's going on. And yes, I travel globally doing work, and that's why when you talk about your convention, you tell me, I said, man, if you had told me early, trust me, you were coming to see me. But
This
so
will not be the last.
yeah, it's wonderful to be here. It was
And
not by accident. I'm glad that I came to be able to learn and to give impart knowledge as well. Liberia, we want to be one. We all have suffered. There's nobody can say they suffer. You know, some people like to say, oh, because they were in the war, so they're the one who suffer, and we who were not there, we suffer. No. When your phone rang 4 o'clock in the morning, you didn't know if somebody was dead. You didn't know who was where. You didn't know
Yeah.
how many people you had to feed. And no one can 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 explain that experience. So we all be in this thing, and now we are trying to get out of this thing. So my people, Liberian people, all of us, let's look at what's ahead of us. Let's look at the people that we have right now in Alexander Cumming and Charlene Brumsky, and let's speak to our people in our dialects, our different vernacular. And each time I was talking about Pamo, and I'm saying Pamo, I wonder if the people know what Pamo means, you know.
I know.
And okay, and demonstrating. But you
Yeah.
know what's missing? This new generation of Liberians do not know the dialect.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
That's
know, this
true.
new generation, they don't know the dialect. So we are the ones who were the last. So we have to encourage that. And we have to speak that when we're having these programs. We have to also make sure that our people, our own man there, hear it in the different vernacular that they can understand in simple English and in their different dialects. So let's keep that in mind. So my people, that's it. Come to Philadelphia. We're going to be having a good time starting Friday to know each other, to meet each other for the first time. We're going to go visit and introduce our businesses and our people to our future president. And then the big day or evening is the dinner where it's a fundraising for us to come together and give to Liberia, not to Mr. Cummings, but to Liberia, because every penny is going to go towards making sure, one, that election, there's no tampering with it. So we'll
That's
be
right.
able to have people in place. So let's keep those things in mind. When you come, the donation you're making is going for those causes so that we can see a clear and fair election, so that we can have people in the right places to monitor everything. So come on to Philadelphia. the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. As
That's
I
right.
said,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Paul, you can wrap up for me. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you, our two panelists, Paul and Mark, and also our two fabulous, fantastic guests. You know, Sis Miata, I will have a special session with you one-on-one on one of the shows, and we'll go into your ordinary activity, not CPP thing, but from your start to your present, and we'll do it. Those are the profiles I let you do. And you sound like interesting person, so I will inform you when the time comes. So, Paul, take us home.
Well, I would say it was great having both of you on this platform. You are always welcome. It should be your home. We're all in it together for better Liberia. So I would say on this note to say goodbye to our audience. We're also on online radio 24/7. We on every Tuesday we're on a rare powered radio station in Liberia, and we comes on Friday as well, where we talk other matters. So say thank you for being with us, and I just wanted to play this music from Charlene, since she is the happiest Liberian woman in town. So we're all in love with her. So on this note, I will say to our audience, thanks for being with us also. We shall be back here on Friday.
The new kid on the block.
On the beat.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Charlie Bronson, you mad.